it's the same thing that happens when it comes to making friends. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know how you said like a newcomer comes to Canada, it's very hard for them to make new connections?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the reason that it's hard for them to make new connections is because, again, they are scared to be themselves. They are scared to show off their culture from where they're
Mm-hmm.
coming from. They are
Right.
scared being themselves. They feel like, oh, I'm in Canada. I need to become more North American. I need to
Mm.
fit in this society. And that's how they're starting it wrong. Because again, remember when I said that the soul can feel if somebody's being authentic or not. And it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like your intuition when you're talking to somebody and you're like, I just don't buy it.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. You are listening to the Major Pain Podcast, the only podcast crafted to guide men like you on unraveling your uniqueness to transform the world around you. If you are a lady joining us, feel comfortable to listen as we hope women learn how to build better men through the golden nuggets we will be sharing and learning. Follow this podcast wherever you are listening. Kindly like and subscribe if you are watching this on YouTube. Alright, so you guys know my love for newcomer men. Especially as a newcomer myself, I have a newcomer mentorship program that I'm running. I've been creating content that can help newcomer men grow. And also, if you're a newcomer lady, cheers to you. You're welcome. I believe that some of the content that I create would also help you as well. I thought of indulging Julia in this conversation about newcomers, how they can find unconditional love and how they can use their uniqueness to resettle, because there's this huge pushback that people feel when they come into the country. They don't know a lot of things. They're still trying to adjust to the culture. Some of them don't even know the culture, hence why there's culture shock. Some of them find it really hard integrating, which ends up affecting their mental health and all that. So in our conversation, she was able to share some powerful tips I believe would benefit you listening, or if you know someone that deserves to learn some of these lessons, you can share it with them. Enjoy the episode. Let us know your thoughts and comment in the comment section. I appreciate you. Cheers.
If
Right.
you look at Canada, everybody's immigrant in Canada. And I
Mm,
find that making friends, you know how you said like sometimes you feel like it's hard to connect people because they come from different, let's say, worlds or different life paths, right? Because they're immigrated here.
what I was referring to was that, um, like, so far I've heard and so far I've witnessed people who are immigrants. I get it that everyone in almost everyone in Canada was once an immigrant, but like people have stayed here for years upon years, and they slowly begin to lose that cultural component of themselves because of r- multiple reasons, right? So, but what I'm
Yeah.
saying is, uh, people who are quite new to the country find it hard connecting to people who have been here for, say, a very long time, or people who were born here, as against them
Okay, so
connecting
here's the
to,
thing, Paul. I
yeah,
understand where you're coming from, but I want to show you a different side of that coin. So I always
talk to
say
me,
that
please.
each coin has two sides.
Right,
And my ability is to show the other perspective. I want
correct.
to kind of touch base on the earlier conversation that we had about the coaches. So
Mm-hmm.
here's the thing. I find that when people come to me, and not just coaches, like when people struggle with their businesses and they come to me, their first question to me is, what am I doing wrong?
Mm.
And now I want to quickly touch base on that whole conversation we had about manifestation, that
Mm-hmm.
what we think becomes our reality. So
Mm.
here's the thing, when your thought is, what am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? Guess what's going to happen? You're going to amplify what you're doing wrong. So I always say that when somebody, again, comes to me and say, what am I doing wrong with my business? I tell them, you know what? Let's scrap this idea. And let me
Mm-hmm.
ask you this, what do you do right with your business? Instead of working hard on correcting what you are lacking or your weaknesses, concentrate on your strengths and multiply that. It's the same thing that happens when it comes to making friends. So, you know how you said like a newcomer comes to Canada, it's very hard for them to make new connections? Well, the reason that it's hard for them to make new connections is because, again, they are scared to be themselves. They are scared to show off their culture from where they're coming from. They're scared being themselves. They feel like, oh, I'm in Canada. I need to become more North American. I need to fit in this society. And that's how they're starting it wrong. Because again, remember when I said that the soul can feel if somebody's being authentic or not. And it's kind of like your intuition when you're talking to somebody and you're like, I just don't buy it. Like the person can say it as many times as they want it, but you just don't buy it because you know the truth. And it's the same thing here. When you meet somebody, the reason, like for me, it's super easy to make friends. Like I make friends everywhere, grocery stores, while I'm on my walks. Why? Because again, I'm being authentic. So it attracts people to begin with. And then the person feels comfortable being authentic around me and being themselves. So therefore, they're interested in this connection. Now, no one really want to establish a connection with a fake person when they got to be fake on top of it. Because when somebody is playing a role, it's very hard being authentic because inside you, you have this like resonance because you're like, oh, this person is like showing me that they're all that and they're so cool. And I feel like to be their friend, I need to match it, but I don't feel cool about myself. So therefore, you know, that whole fab of like people who can't afford, let's say, buying expensive things, save their salary to buy like $1,000 Louis Vuitton purse. Why do they do it? Because they feel like this is what they need to fit in. And why do they think that? Because they don't believe that true them is good enough. And that's actually a much deeper conversation because when I started working with people, I always thought that all my clients had different issues. But here's the catch. After a year of really intense practice, and I think 2022 was my biggest year in terms of clientele. Oh my God, it was like amazing. And I got an exposure to so many people with so many different issues. And the crazy thing is that the bottom line and the root of all the problems, like people came to me with infidelity, people came to me with not being able to get into relationships, people came to me struggling with their kids. I had clients who struggle with their weight, clients who struggle with their careers, clients who struggle with their businesses, all the different reasons with the same root. And the root is lack of self-love. And here's the thing, I just want to touch base on unconditional love. Unconditional love means that you love a person, whether they're good or they're bad, with their good sides and a not so good sides. You love a person irrelevant of whether they buying you gifts, of whether they, taking you on vacations that you dream of. You love the person for their core, which might be their smile, their sense of humor, their loyalty, their compassion. So again, we're living in a world that are very surface-like. And we are so used to looking at the surface and at the material things as a representation of the human being that we forget to see what's within the person. But here's the thing, the reason people are scared to be themselves is because in order to love somebody unconditionally, you have to first love yourself unconditionally, which means you have to love yourself no matter what. You mess up at work, you still gotta love yourself. You gain 2 kilos, you still gotta love yourself. I don't know, you picked your nose in public, screw it. You still gotta love yourself because that's just who you are. Makes sense. What happens is when a person doesn't accept themselves as who they are with their flaws, they cannot accept others. Therefore, they expect themselves to be perfect based on the definition of society. And they expect others to be perfect. And that's where that whole game comes in, where people feel like they need to play the role. And the funny thing is,
Gotcha.
Yeah,
All
gotcha.
kids, yeah, all kids are born with an ability of unconditional love. If you look like at a 2-year-old, right? Think about it. They're not racist. They're not prejudiced. They're not sexist. They don't care if you're fat or you're skinny. They don't care if you have a face covered with acne or you have clear face. They don't care if you're missing an eye or an arm or a leg. A child will love you for who you are. Why? Because they have the concept of unconditional love. That's why the children love themselves so much. That's why the children, let's say, they cry to build their boundaries because they believe they're worthy of that. But then what happens is, as the child grows, usually at the age of like 4 or 5, that's when the change actually starts happening. That's when the child starts observing mom, dad, school teachers, principal, a lady at the grocery store, and start noticing different behaviors. With that being said, usually the society starts telling a child to become somebody that they're not by saying that your writing is ugly, your ass is too big, your teeth are too crooked, you walk in a weird way, your jokes are strange, your way you talk is weird, your accent is crappy. But here's the thing, we get all this criticism from people that don't love themselves, people that are fake to begin with. So again, if we take the child who has unconditional love for themselves and for the world, and all of a sudden they start hearing that this is wrong with them and this is wrong with them and the other things are wrong with them, what happens is the child starts putting on that mask and start playing that role. And that's how it turns into adulthood. And then that child does the exact same thing with their kids and their kids. And that's how it goes from generation to generation. People are scared to be themselves because they were told that there's a whole bunch of things that are wrong with them. But the truth of the matter is that it's not true. They were told all those things by wrong people. And in reality, and that's what happens once I start working with a client, is my goal is to show that client that they're worthy of love, is to show that client they're absolutely perfect, just the way they are. And that's
Awesome.
why my first goal when somebody comes to me is to provide them with that unconditional love and show them what it feels like. Because the moment they feel unjudged and they can be themselves, and then I reinforce all their strength and show them their qualities that they should stand by, all of a sudden they're like, wow, I'm awesome. Okay, thank you for telling me. Now I can go and be myself and live in this world, enjoying it as it's meant to be, instead of playing the role.
Awesome. So all what you said I see it clearly in the sense that you are the medicine to people's struggles and people's fears, concerns, generational programming. I could say all the societal and negative generational programming. So which 100%. Still brings us back to my initial statement from the first time I said it, that when newcomers come in, they have difficulty connecting with people. Why? Because you said it exactly yourself, that people end up losing their authenticity. It's not like as though it's not there. Yeah. It's there, but they lose it because of the society and because they are kind of programmed or, cautioned and, nurtured to maybe act in this way or that way and all that. But at the end of the day, we realize that we need that authentic part of us to connect genuinely with others. So people who are witnessing, like say newcomers, for instance, who are witnessing that reality, it's not as though that reality is false. It's more like it's a true reality. However, the answer is the unconditional love you are talking about. And that unconditional love, they have it within them. So it's more like, regardless of whatever it is you are facing, if you can just push through that layer, you would see beyond what it's, so-called flashing in your eyes. Like what's flashing in your eyes is not it's not as real as. Sorry, I'll let you say. I'm seeing it from my mind, like from my mind's eyes. That's how I'm seeing it. I mean, like I told you, I'm a
You're
newcomer.
seeing it right. Yeah, everyone is capable of unconditional of 100%.
Right. No.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. How long have you been in Canada?
So we initially immigrated in Montreal 2001.
Okay.
So
awesome.
Over 20 years.
Okay.
Crazy. And then I came to Toronto in 2003.
Make perfect sense. I've been I guess what, you landed in Montreal. Montreal is the place of love. Like Montreal's atmosphere and Toronto atmosphere are just completely two different. Like it's like two different words, kind of.
Well, you know what it is? I find that Quebec is more European. And I always joke that there is a huge difference between European culture and the North American culture.
Big time,
because in European culture, like in Europe, people work to live. Right. So that's why they have, those lunch breaks and the stores open at like 10 o'clock a.m. because 10 a.m. is because people there make money so they can enjoy their life. Correct. Where in North America, people live to work. It's all about going to bed on time. So you wake up early. So you're a good little worker and you're full of energy and you just work. And then if you're lucky, you have your weekend to enjoy. Which is in Europe, I mean, people enjoy themselves on Wednesday night and a Thursday night and a Tuesday night. And it's really irrelevant what type of night it is because their concept, and again, obviously not all Europeans, but I'm saying that in Europe, the concept of enjoying life is much stronger than it is in North America. I believe in North America, it's more colonized, in a sense that people are, I don't want to use the word brainwashed, but I just can't find a better word. But, people have a notion that they have to be good workers, that life is about working so then you can retire, so then you can, have your 10 years worth of non-working. Your life when you're like in your 80s. And that's pretty much it, which is actually sad, which takes me to another point with regards to an immigration. Is you know how you said that people come to Canada, but they feel like they can't be authentic because they want to be accepted and they feel like if they are themselves, they're not going to be accepted. Would you agree with that statement?
I would say that's how they feel, but that's how they feel, but it doesn't mean that is how they should continuously feel. Exactly.
100%. I'm just talking about the feelings. So the person
right. Exactly. Yes.
They can't be themselves because then they won't be accepted. But here is the funny question that I always ask a person. Accepted by who? By people that you could care less about? By the wrong people? Because I have one of my most famous phrases is I always say that if people don't love and accept you how you are and for who you are, they're not your people. And here's the concept that most don't understand. I actually was working with somebody who's a public speaker. And I remember that he told me that, sometimes when I go on stage, I get extremely nervous. I go, okay, why? And he goes, well, because, obviously I want to be accepted by people. I want to do a good job. I want to make sure that, I look presentable and, as I said, accepted by others. But here's the thing. What most people don't understand is that, yes, when you're a public figure, you do want to be accepted publicly. But on a smaller scale, somebody that's just trying to build a friend circle, they need to understand that by the time you think of your energy, let's say you have 100% of energy, like a battery charge a day. And let's say to function for yourself, you need 50% of that energy. And then you have 50% of energy to give to others. And let's say you have 2 kids and a wife. So let's say you give your one child 10% of your energy, another child another 10% of your energy, your wife 10% of the energy. Really, by the time you think of how many people that need your attention and your energies within your immediate circle, you'll realize that you really cannot handle more than 5 to maybe 10 friends. Because if you were to have 50 friends, that's not going to be a quality relationships. That's going to be very surface like. Because really, we have 24 hours in a day. By the time you take out sleeping and eating and, I don't know, having some hobbies or working, you're very limited with the free time that you have left. So wasting it, and it's literally a waste when you have to pretend and play a role and waste it on people that don't even like you the way you are. And that's why you have to pretend to be somebody else. It's really counterproductive.
Right.
It makes zero sense, in my opinion. So if people were to be brave and show who they truly are, they would actually attract people that are similar in values and in ways.
Gotcha.
And there is a visual example that I like to use. Imagine, like, again, we're all born, let's say, different shapes. And then we go to school and we are told that, you know, we need to be a square. Each and one of us has to go to school, then a college, then get married, then get a job, then retire, and then die. And that's the sort of the plan for the whole world, let's put it that way. So if you think about it, when we go to school as children, we are told, or let's say we are put in a box. So as we grow, we believe that this box represents us. But underneath, remember how I said we all actually different shapes? If we were to take off that box, take off that mask, stop pretending and playing a role, we would realize that underneath those boxes, we all different shapes and colors. Some of us are stars, some of us are circles, some of us are purple, I don't know, triangles. And if we were to be authentic, then we would actually have a better chance matching up with people that are our shapes, which means people that have the same values, people that have the same standards, people that have the same compatibility, which is technically is the biggest problem in the relationships. When I work with marriages and I look at the relationships, the problem is two individuals go in to build a relationship based on really nothing but fakeness. And when the colors start coming out, the values start coming out and things start showing, that's when the conflict happens. And the person is like, you're not who I thought you were.
Right.
And it's vice versa. Why? Because you chose not to be yourself to begin with.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Because, you know, you and I, we are coaches, right? And how we see things is completely different from how other people see things, right? Hence why I asked that question from the beginning. And yes, because that question comes from, say, someone who is going through struggles and someone who is seeing things from that perspective, like coming in and seeing things being not authentic and wanting to match the vibes or the energy, right, of inauthenticity, you understand, just so that they can move along. Yeah. But then at the end of the day, it doesn't set them up for success. And what you're also saying is, if they are to, because everyone comes with that authenticity, and it's not up to us to decide to, you know, pull off that, to remove that box, right, or not stay in that box you get, and just be genuinely real. And that way you also get to connect with other people who are real, just like how you and I were able to connect online. You understand, right? Exactly.
100%.
So I like the fact that you were able to dive deeper into the technicality of it. Like, you were also able to just address even the root issue itself, and then create that strategy, like set that plans for them to, you know, to follow. And that's very brilliant and really great that you're doing such a great and fantastic work. You know, yeah, you know,
you make my heart smile. I appreciate that. You're so kind,
I'm
Paul.
glad. No, I'm being real to you, you know. All right, Julia, where can people find you?
The best way is LinkedIn and Instagram. Those are the
Okay.
two platforms where I reply regularly, and I always reply. That's one
Okay.
thing to keep in mind. But yeah.
Awesome. Okay, awesome.